Doctor, which is better, quinoa or basmati rice? Or, doctor, is basmati rice a low glycemic index food? Or, doctor, is quinoa high in protein? These are examples of the many questions related to quinoa and basmati rice that I often get asked whenever I conduct lifestyle and diet modification training and coaching sessions, whether it is for my patients in my clinic or for participants who attend my various workshops and training programs. So, I decided to make this informational video comparing quinoa and basmati rice, both the whole grain brown basmati rice and also the refined grain white basmati rice. In this video, I'm not going to talk about or compare the health benefits of quinoa or basmati rice, but will only focus on their nutritional information in terms of comparing their protein, carbohydrate, and fiber content, their differences in glycemic index or GI, and also their micronutrient content as well as arsenic levels. I shall also comment on their relative price and accessibility differences. Before I start, for those of you who are new to my channel, I'm Dr. Chan. I am a medical doctor from Singapore. My work and my passion is in helping people to modify their lifestyle and eating habits to prevent and combat chronic diseases. A quick note, the numbers that I am going to share in a while actually varies widely, but I have intentionally simplified it to a single number where possible or assigned a smaller range to it so as to be able to give you a relatively accurate ballpark range and yet be able to provide a clear idea about the relative differences of quinoa, brown basmati rice and white basmati rice so that you can make your own decision on which is better as a choice for a staple based on your own needs. Let's start with the protein content. As expected, quinoa has the most, whilst white basmati rice has the least. The difference in the quantity of protein in quinoa and brown basmati rice is actually not that big. What makes quinoa a clear winner is not in how much more protein quinoa has as compared to basmati rice, but it is in the quality of the protein that quinoa has. Quinoa is often described as a complete protein source, meaning that it is rich in all the essential amino acids that our bodies cannot make on their own. It is fair to say that the quality of protein that we can get from quinoa is better than that from rice in general, including basmati rice. Next, carbohydrate content. Quinoa is generally lower than basmati rice in terms of carbohydrate content. But to say that quinoa has no or low carbohydrates, a common misconception that many people have, is not quite correct. For every 100 gram of cooked quinoa, there is about 22 gram of carbohydrates. In terms of fiber content, quinoa and brown basmati rice are both equally rich in fiber with about 3 gram of fiber for every 100 gram of cooked quinoa or brown basmati rice, whilst white basmati rice has only 0.5 gram of fiber per 100 gram. When it comes to glycemic index, it is a lot more tricky to compare them because it can vary very widely, especially for basmati rice, depending on the source of the rice, how it is processed or cooked. But in general, quinoa would fall in the low GI range, in the low 50s, whilst basmati rice has a wider range of GI from the low 50s to the low 60s. That is the low to medium GI range. Next, quinoa is widely known as the nutrient-packed powerhouse, rich in both vitamins and minerals. White basmati rice has the least. But one interesting note, a lot of the nutrients such as vitamins and minerals that are found naturally in brown basmati rice are lost when it is processed into white basmati rice. So much so that many rice producers, sometimes mandated by law in their respective countries, enrich the white rice before selling them with vitamins and minerals, especially B vitamins and iron, that are lost when processing brown rice to white rice. Next, quinoa's reputation as a healthy choice is also because of its relatively high levels of antioxidants, especially the red or black quinoa, which has higher levels of antioxidants than the more common white quinoa. In terms of arsenic levels, rice in general, not just basmati rice, are known to have higher levels of inorganic arsenic than most other grains, with whole grain rice having higher levels than refined grains. Quinoa has very low levels of inorganic arsenic, averaging about 8 parts per billion. Brown basmati rice, on the other hand, averages about 120 parts per billion, whilst white basmati rice is about half of that. But when it comes to taste, it is always going to be very subjective. But I must confess that I am biased here. When I was running my restaurant as a chef, I loved the taste and especially the versatility of quinoa as an ingredient, so much so that I created one of the widest range of quinoa dishes that one can find in any restaurant, at least here in Singapore. And I even appeared on quite a number of TV and radio programs talking about quinoa and how I create new and yet familiar dishes out of quinoa. There's no point talking about whether something is healthier if it is not accessible. When it comes to accessibility, it all depends on where you are. Here in Singapore, especially in recent years, it is increasingly common to find a good range of quinoa on sale in the supermarkets, both the physical supermarket stores as well as the online stores. So whilst a wide range of white basmati rice is usually accessible for most people anywhere in the world, brown basmati rice, on the other hand, and even quinoa is a lot less accessible, although it is getting easier to find in many places around the world. Last but not least, we must talk about price. Quinoa is easily a few times more expensive than white basmati rice, which in itself is already more expensive than other kinds of white rice in the supermarkets. So this is how quinoa, brown basmati rice, and white basmati rice compare. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I am not going to talk about the health benefits or uses of quinoa or basmati rice, at least not in this video, because I have already covered many of these topics in many of my videos in my 2 YouTube channels, including topics such as the common mistakes that people who choose quinoa or basmati rice for health reasons tend to make, the common misconceptions that many people have about basmati rice and quinoa. I shall leave the link to the playlist of all these videos in the show notes below, as well as at the end of this video. As I mentioned, I wanted this video to be a simple, straightforward comparison of quinoa and basmati rice on these metrics here, so as to help people make better informed choices regarding grain staples. So, of these 3, which is your choice? Which do you prefer as a staple? That is, if you have grains as your staple food to start with. Is it quinoa? And if it is basmati rice, would you choose the whole grain brown basmati rice or the refined grain white basmati rice? Or is it none of the above? There is no right or wrong answers here. But whatever choice that you make, my goal for this video is simply to help you make a better informed one. I hope you have found this video useful. Here are the links to my websites if you are interested to go find out more. I shall leave the links below. Our lifestyle and eating habits are essential components of a holistic approach that's needed to prevent and combat diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and other lifestyle-related chronic diseases. Let habits be thy medicine. I am Dr. Chan. Take care.